First one I think that we want to talk about is Mosh Pit, right?
Yeah,
This ability, heavy clearance. It looks really quite powerful as well in the right hands as well.
So there's going to be a lot of similarities to KO's Fragment, but it's going to be more of an approachable, it's going to be a very nice zone that it covers. It gives you a lot of time to kind of run out of it and a lot of time to react, but it is going to kind of give you a pretty big zone, and so
it does crazy damage too, right?
It does, yeah. So it's very similar to Breach's Fusion Blast. So if you don't get out of it, it's deadly in the center.
So that is one of the abilities. That is the only ability that you can't go and pick back up again as well.
Is going to be Dizzy. So Dizzy is what you're using kind of round to round. It's more of like a versatile tool to be able to clear mid, some short, and long range angles to compete with some of our other initiators. But it definitely has a lot of different ways to kind of counterplay and different ways to kind of change how you take spaces compared to some of our other initiators.
And it is kind of similar to some other abilities in that it blinds your opponent, but it works in quite a different way, right?
Right, yeah. We wanted to try something that was a little less, it kind of obfuscates your screen a little bit less, gives you a little easier of a time to kind of maneuver around.
Right.
But it also has a lot of downsides and a lot of trade-offs to, it can kind of get shot and mitigate a lot of the area there. But the idea there was kind of creating a breaking tool that's a little more approachable for all players.
Right. But talk to me a bit more about, so you're an opponent, there's a Dizzy coming towards you, you shoot the Dizzy, it's now on the floor, and the gameplay loop is kind of that the Gekko can go and retrieve that for another Dizzy in 10 seconds time.
Right.
Do you see a lot of the gameplay loop being around fighting for those abilities, almost like people fight around ult orbs now?
Yeah, so it's in a similar way that you can kind of play around a lot of Killjoy's utility, where you hear the turret, then the strategy comes in. It's okay, so now we hear the turret. What do we do next? Same thing with Dizzy. Once the reclaim or once the globule is created, there's a couple seconds there where you really have to fight for it. It becomes like a mini objective, similar to some of the ultimate orbs that you see.
Yeah.
Wingman is kind of your friend that helps you clear these spaces. There's going to be the close to mid-range, runs forward, parkours all over the place. As soon as it sees an enemy, it'll jump up and then kind of clap its hands together and do this huge concussive bark. So there's a cone of area that it affects, and anyone in that cone is concussed.
Yeah, nice. But that's not the only thing that's special about Wingman, right? Because there is a very unique feature. You guys are really pushing the envelope in terms of how the game is developed with the mechanics, and that's Wingman, who's got this ult fire, right?
Right, yeah. So one of the things we wanted to try, in the whole theme of power and numbers kind of thing, we wanted to allow Wingman to also kind of steal the spike from you and also run with it and plant the spike itself. So as it's planting the spike, you can be covering it. And on the flip side, on defense, if you're kind of in these 1v1s, these 1v2s, you can send Wingman to defuse the spike as well, and you can cover Wingman as opposed to someone having to cover you.
It's a really unique interaction, but also if Wingman goes down on his intrepid venture towards the spike, he just abandons it in enemy territory, right? So you do have to be a bit careful in terms of how it's used.
Absolutely, yeah. So Thrash is Gekko's ultimate. You equip Thrash, you'll see a cool little animation of it swimming around. Once you cast it, you possess Thrash. Thrash swims around and clears space pretty rapidly, as you guys are sure have seen. Once you explode or once you lunge and explode onto an enemy, there's a big radius that is detained. So any player con is detained.
Yeah, it looks really fun to play.